You're doing ordinary differential equations. We're doing it through separation. So dy dx is equal to 1 plus x over y minus 1. And we want to get down to the very end to y is equal to something. Inside in this, we're going to use another technique as well called completing the square at the end. Let me just explain completing the square to you. If you have any quadratic, let's say I have x squared plus 4x, let's call it 3x to make it difficult, 3x plus 2. There's a technique for completing the square which allows you to write it as a perfect square. So if you take the coefficient of x, half it, that gives me 3 over 2, and then square it, that gives me 9 over 4. I can rewrite my equation now as a perfect square. So I have my x squared plus 3x, and I still have my plus 2. But what you're going to include is you're going to add and subtract your square. What that allows you to do is it allows you to draw write the first 3 parts there as a perfect square. It'll always be x, there'll be a square outside, and the number that goes next to the x will always be that number you halved, which in this case is positive 3 over 2. And the last thing to do is to tidy up those. Minus 9 over 4 plus 2. So minus 9 plus 8 minus a quarter. Okay, so that's a technique we're going to use at the very, very end here. So anyway, first things first, we try to integrate it as is. No, it's not possible because it's quite complicated. So the first thing we want to do is separate our variables. Get your y's with your dy's, your x's with your dx's. So I'll cross multiply. Y minus 1 comes over to multiply y minus 1 times dy. And then dx comes over to multiply 1 plus x times dx. So now our x's are with our dx's and our y's are with our dy's. So we'll integrate. So the integral of y minus 1 is going to be y squared over 2 minus y, and equals to 1 plus, x plus x squared over 2. Okay, I'm going to, we have our plus c, and I'll multiply everything by 2. That'll give me y squared minus 2y equals 2x plus x squared and plus 2c. Now the c is arbitrary, so you don't have to write 2c, but you know, I'll just throw it in there just to make life easier. It's an arbitrary constant. 2c is still just a constant. Okay, now here we go. Solving this part here is difficult. If I had just had y squared minus 2y equals 0, well, that'd be easy. I could just factorize out my y minus 2 is equal to 0. And I could just say y is equal to 0, y minus 2 is equal to 0, and y is equal to 2. But unfortunately, it's not equal to 0. It's equal to all of this. So now I'm going to utilize this completing the square. So remember, the first step you do is you look at the coefficient of x. Now in this case, we're going to look at the coefficient of the y. So just let me tidy that up a little bit. So look at our coefficient of our y. That's minus 2. Okay, now we don't have a constant at the end in this example that we're doing here now. So now we half it. So half it. Half of minus 2, apologies, half of minus 2 is minus 1. And then after we half it, we square it. So we square it then, minus 1 squared is a positive 1. So I'm going to rewrite my equation, y squared minus 2y, and now I'm going to add and subtract that thing that I squared. So essentially I'm adding 0, plus 1 minus 1 is 0, so I haven't changed anything, but it does allow me to do, to get a perfect square, which is going to be very useful now in a second. So the next step is to tidy up the first 3 parts. You write them as a perfect square. So y squared minus 2y. Now it'll always be y and then a squared. And then the important number is the minus 1. That's going next to the y, minus 1. But of course I still have my minus 1 here at the end. Equals 2x plus x squared plus 2c. And this is going to make my life a lot easier now. So I've got, I'm going to y minus 1 to be squared. I'm going to bring my minus 1 over. It's going to become plus 1. So 2x plus x squared plus 1 plus 2c, the arbitrary constant. All right, now it's easier. So opposite of squaring is square root. So y minus 1 is equal to the square root of 2x plus x squared plus x plus 2c. But remember, the square root can be positive or negative. So we're going to do a positive and negative version. So y is going to be equal to the square root of 2x plus x squared plus x plus 2c. Bring my minus 1 over, it becomes plus 1. But we have to do the negative version as well. So I have negative of the square root of 2x plus x squared plus x plus 2c. But I still bring my minus 1 over, and it becomes plus 1 at the end. Okay, so tricky enough, get to grips with completing the square. It's called completing the square. Complete the square. So, you know, you can check out, you find plenty of videos if you're a little bit unsure about it, or just ask me the next day.